Close your eyes for a second and imagine this. You're standing in front of a mirror, but the reflection staring back at you isn't really you. It's a carefully edited version, the one that gets likes, the one that fits in, the one that says the right things, wears the right clothes, and never, ever makes anyone uncomfortable. Now here's the terrifying question. When was the last time you saw the real you, not the curated version, not the performance, but the raw, unfiltered person beneath all the layers of expectation? What if I told you that person is disappearing, and you might not even notice until it's too late? I'm going to be completely honest with you. 2 years ago, I realized something that shook me to my core. I was scrolling through my own social media, and I didn't recognize myself, the captions I wrote, the photos I chose, even the way I smiled. It all felt scripted, like I was playing a character in someone else's story. And the worst part? I had no idea when I started performing. It happened so gradually, so subtly, that I forgot what authenticity even felt like. If you've ever felt that strange emptiness after scrolling for hours, that's not boredom. That's your soul screaming that something is deeply, deeply wrong. Here's what nobody tells you about modern life. You're living in an invisible cage, and the bars are made of data. Every click, every pause, every video you watch for more than 3 seconds, the algorithm is learning. Not just what you like, but what keeps you hooked, what makes you angry, what makes you compare yourself to others, what makes you feel inadequate enough to keep consuming. And here's the really disturbing part. Research from 2024 shows that the algorithm can predict your behavior better than your closest friends, better than your family, in some cases better than you can predict yourself. Think about that. A machine, a cold, emotionless system designed to maximize engagement, knows what you'll do next before you do. Your desires, programmed, your opinions, curated, your sense of self, outsourced to an algorithm that doesn't care if you're happy, only if you're active. But here's where it gets even darker. You know that feeling when you're about to post something and you hesitate? You rewrite it. You wonder, what will people think? Is this going to get engagement? Does this fit my aesthetic? That hesitation? That's not self-awareness. That's self-censorship. And we're all doing it, all the time, without even realizing it. Psychologists call this anticipatory conformity. When you change your behavior before anyone even judges you, you've internalized the crowd so deeply that you police yourself. You've become your own prison guard. Studies show that 82.67% of people will agree with something they know is wrong just to fit in. Think about that. 8 out of 10 people will betray their own truth for the comfort of belonging. And social media? It's conformity on steroids. Because now the crowd isn't just your school or your neighborhood. It's the entire world, watching, judging, and algorithmically deciding if you're worthy. Now, let me ask you something controversial. Why does stupidity go viral while intelligence gets ignored? I'm serious. Look at what trends. Look at what gets millions of views. It's not deep conversations. It's not nuanced thinking. It's outrage, drama, simplified arguments, surface-level takes, people yelling at each other, people performing exaggerated versions of themselves. Why? Because the algorithm doesn't reward truth. It rewards engagement. And nothing engages like emotion. Fear, anger, shock, envy. These are the buttons the system is designed to push over and over again. A 2024 study found that 52% of the most viral TikTok videos contain misinformation. Not because people are trying to lie, but because simple, shocking, emotionally charged content spreads faster than complex truth. So the system rewards the person who yells the loudest, not the one who thinks the deepest. It rewards the hot take, not the hard question. It rewards conformity disguised as rebellion. And slowly, without realizing it, we all become performers in a show we never auditioned for. Let me explain what's happening in your brain right now. Every time you get a notification, a like, a comment, your brain releases dopamine. That's the same chemical released when you eat, when you have sex, when you do drugs. Your brain cannot tell the difference between real connection and digital validation. To your ancient survival-focused brain, social media is a tribe of thousands, and rejection means death. So when your post doesn't get likes, your brain experiences it as social rejection and activates the same pain centers as physical injury. That's why you check your phone 150 times a day. That's why you feel anxious when you're away from it. You're not weak. You're not addicted because you lack willpower. You're being engineered to behave this way. Tech companies hire neuroscientists to make apps more addictive. They A/B test every color, every notification sound, every scroll pattern to maximize what they call time on platform. And while you're trapped in that dopamine loop, your attention span is shrinking, your memory is weakening, your ability to think deeply is eroding. The average attention span today, 8.5 seconds, less than a goldfish. We're not becoming stupider because we're lazy. We're becoming stupider because our brains are being systematically rewired for distraction. Here's the part that breaks my heart. An entire generation is growing up without knowing who they are. I'm talking about people who can't make decisions without checking what's trending, who curate 5 different versions of themselves depending on the platform, who feel like frauds in their own lives because they're so busy performing, they forgot how to be. Therapists are seeing this more and more. I don't know what I actually like. I don't know what I actually believe. I don't know who I am when no one's watching. This isn't just an identity crisis. It's an identity theft. And the thief is a system that profits from your confusion, because confused people consume more, insecure people buy more. People who don't know themselves are easier to control. And here's the paradox. We have more freedom than ever. Infinite choices, endless content, limitless self-expression. But we've never felt less free. Why? Because choice without self-knowledge is just noise. When you don't know who you are, you can't choose what's right for you. You just choose what everyone else is choosing. And that's not freedom, that's slavery with better marketing. Okay, let me pause here, because I don't want to paint conformity as pure evil. Human beings are social creatures. We evolved to cooperate, to belong, to find safety in groups. Conformity helped our ancestors survive, and even today, conformity isn't always wrong. Traffic laws, good conformity, professional ethics, helpful conformity, cultural traditions that bring meaning, beautiful conformity. The problem isn't conformity itself. The problem is unconscious conformity, when you follow the crowd without knowing why, when you adopt beliefs, desires, and behaviors that were never yours to begin with. There's a difference between choosing to align with a group because their values resonate with you, and defaulting to the group because you're terrified of standing alone. One is community, the other is cowardice disguised as belonging. And let's be real about something else. Being yourself is a privilege most people can't afford. If you're marginalized, if you're struggling financially, if you're just trying to survive, sometimes conformity isn't weakness, it's strategy, it's protection, it's survival. The system punishes authenticity unequally. A wealthy white man can be himself and get called eccentric. A woman of color does the same thing and gets labeled difficult. So I'm not here to shame anyone for conforming. I'm here to ask, are you conforming because it's strategic? Or because you've forgotten you have a choice? Because the cruelest trick the system plays is convincing you that the cage is your home. So how do we escape? First, you need to understand something about your brain. It's plastic, changeable, rewirable. The same brain that got addicted to scrolling can learn to crave depth. The same brain that learned to perform can learn to be present, but it takes intentional effort because your default setting has been hijacked. Here's what the research shows works. 1. Digital fasting, not forever. Just intentional breaks. One study found that people who went off social media for just 2 weeks reported significantly improved attention, well-being, and sense of self. 2. Solitude practice. Spend time alone, without your phone, without stimulation. Just be. I know it's uncomfortable, that discomfort. That's your real self trying to speak. Listen. 3, the why audit. Before you post, before you buy, before you agree, ask, why am I doing this? Is this mine? Or is this programmed? That pause, that tiny moment of self-awareness, that's where freedom begins. But here's the real revolution. Live like the algorithm doesn't exist. I know that sounds impossible, but try it. Just for a day, a week. Post something that you find beautiful, even if it's not aesthetic. Share an opinion that's nuanced, even if it's not viral. Do something just because it feels true to you, not because it photographs well. You know what will happen? Some people won't get it. Some people will judge you. Some people will unfollow. Good. Because the people who stay, those are your people, not the crowd, not the algorithm. Your people. And more importantly, you'll start to recognize yourself again. One woman I know quit Instagram for 6 months. When she came back, she said something that stuck with me. I realized I used to check my phone to see how I was feeling. Now I just know. That's the goal. Not to disconnect forever, but to reconnect with yourself first, so that when you do engage with the digital world, you're doing it from a place of strength, not desperation. Here's what I want you to take away from this. You are not the algorithm's product. You are not the crowd's reflection. You are not the sum of your engagement metrics. You are a human being, complex, contradictory, messy, and beautiful. You contain multitudes. You have depths the algorithm can never map. But you have to choose to be that person, because the default setting is conformity. The path of least resistance is performance. The comfortable option is letting the system think for you. And here's the hardest part. Authenticity is lonely at first. When you stop performing, people get confused. When you stop agreeing with everything, people get uncomfortable. When you start asking real questions, people start avoiding you. But that loneliness, it's temporary. It's the space between who you were and who you're becoming. And on the other side of that space is a life that's actually yours. So I'm going to leave you with a question. Not one you have to answer in the comments. One you have to answer in the quiet of your own mind. If the algorithm disappeared tomorrow, who would you be? Not who you should be. Not who you perform as. Who would you actually be? That person, the one you just thought of, that's the person worth fighting for. Not the one who fits in. The one who's real. Welcome to Psyche Storm, where we don't follow the algorithm. We follow the truth.